Alright, what's up YouTube? Got another knife for you today. And this is a knife that I have bought not only once, not twice, but 3 times. And it's weird, I loved it the first time I bought it. There was just one thing I didn't like about it. Regretted it, bought another one, and then I think there was some other knife that I wanted at the time, and I ended up selling my second one to get this other knife, that's what I do. I buy and sell and trade a lot, but this one I'm going to be keeping for sure, and it is the Zero Tolerance 0550. It's a Hinder design. And this is actually the Gen 2 model. The first ones I had were Gen 3s. But I'll just say a couple specs. I'll have all the specs in the description. But it has a S35 VM blade. The blade length's 3.5 inches. This is a big knife, and it's kind of heavy too. I looked up the weight and I found 2 different weights. I think Blade HQ had it at like 6.2 ounces, and then I saw another website had it at like 5.8 ounces, but it's a pretty hefty knife. So anyway, this is the Gen 2, and you'll probably notice right off the bat that there's something different about this one than most 0550s, and that's the scale. On the first 2 I never liked the scale, so when I found this one, I for sure wanted to get a new scale for it. So I'll show you what the other scale looks like. This is the box, their old style box. Let me get the scale out of here. Not that this is really a bad scale, I just didn't care for it a whole lot. Just a plain black G10 with some interesting pattern on there. So this is what it would have looked like before, roughly. So anyway, I wanted my Carta scale, but I found this one. It's a G10 scale, and it's actually, let me move this out of the way. Exact same color I would have wanted the micar to be, and it's pretty nice. The guy that sells different scales, he does them by hand, and he does a pretty good job, I think. It's got a really fine texture, but it's a little more grippy than like a paramilitary 2. It's a little more grippy than that, but I'll put a link to him in the description if you want to check out some of his stuff. But like I was saying, there's 3 generations of this knife, and I never had a Gen 1, but the story goes the Gen 1s had a very strong detent, and it was hard to open. That's why there's all the videos on YouTube of people trying to fix the detent on their knives. And then supposedly on the Gen 2, like this, they made it a little lighter, and they adjusted like the lock bar tension. The cutout for the lock bar was on the inside on the Gen 1, and they made it on the outside. I think they made it like a little thinner or something, so there's less pressure from the lock bar on the blade. But the main reason I love this one more than the first 2 I had is because my Gen 3 detent was not great, but it wasn't as bad as some I've seen before. So most of the time in my old ones, I would just pinch the blade like this and open it that way because it was too hard to use the thumb stud. But I got super lucky on this one. The detent on this one is just absolutely perfect. Like, almost no, I mean, it's probably the same as my Sabenza, maybe a little bit less of a detent. You can flick it out. It's just super easy to open, and I was so happy when I opened it. and I realized it was that easy. I got this from a guy. Yeah, let me go back. The reason, main reason I have this knife now is because, yeah, I did regret selling my last one, but a guy on Facebook had, he had a few of these knives. I think he had like 5 or so that he had just been keeping, that he bought from a dealer or something, and they were all new in box. And his post was from a few years ago, and I messaged him and asked him if he happened to have any left, and he said he had one Gen 2 left that was still new in the box. And he gave me a great deal on it. He sold it to me for less than they cost when they first came out, and it's new in the box. He said it's new in the box. It's just been sitting wherever he was storing them, and it hasn't been used or nothing. So I got a great deal on this. So yeah, the detent is great. Let me back up the camera a little bit here. The fill in the hand on this knife is awesome, and you can see how big it is. I have medium-sized hands, but it fits great. It feels great in the hand. One interesting thing is on the blade here, says "Made in USA," and you see a lot of them that they don't say "Made in." They just say USA, and they have a little I don't know, a little emblem by it. So I don't know if that's a serial number thing, like after a certain serial number they switch to that, but apparently this was before they started using that little emblem, and they actually had "Made in the USA." Not that that really matters, I'm just going to point it out. So yeah, the detent is awesome on this. It's almost too light, like, let's see. See, it won't come open under probably normal use, but I can get it to come out if it's hard to do in camera, but see, it ain't gonna come out, but if I do it real hard off the camera, it will come out a little bit. So I just love it, that detent's so good. Let's see what else. The handle screws are nice and robust. I think these are like a T10, and that's a T9 pivot. And it actually wasn't too bad taking that original scale off to put this one on. So that was good. Didn't have any problems with it. So one of the differences between the Gen 1 and Gen 2 was the pocket clip. They put this deep carry clip on it. You can see that little, whatever you want to call it, laser etched pattern on the cutout there. It's kind of cool. One thing I love about a lot of ZT knives like this is the that little the pivot on the back side of the pivot is notched like that, so that way when you're tightening or loosening the pivot, the back end can't rotate, it's fixed. And I love it when companies do that. When I put this one back together, I put just a little bit of the purple Loctite in there just to hold it in place. And as you can see, I got it back perfectly centered and absolutely no blade play, which is awesome. The action, it won't, yeah, it'll almost fall closed. I'm still breaking it in, but the last one I had was like glass, like you would just disengage the lock and it would fall closed. But this one, still breaking in, but it's already, so you can see it falling closed. Let's see what else. It's got the Hinder lock bar stabilizer. I really like this one over a lot of the other ZTs because I'm not as big of a fan of flippers, so I like that this was a manual knife. Another thing that's kind of cool is that the old scale had the holes drilled out for the clip where it was reversible, but this one doesn't, and I actually kind of like that clean look better. Probably wouldn't be good if you were left-handed and you were going to use it, but since I'm not, I like the way that looks. I don't know if you can see no, you probably can't see the inside of where it was gonna, yeah, you can see the holes right there where you could have put the clip on the scale side. And you can see that this liner right here is stainless liner. It is milled out. I'm trying to save a little weight there. One thing that I love about this knife is I can't think of a lot of companies that have the titanium frame locks that disengage so good as the Hinderer knives. I don't have my Hinderer with me, but when you disengage this frame lock, it is just like effortless. And like it's hard to explain unless you've had a Hinderer and you know how easy like to disengage this is super easy, super, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's super smooth. There's not a lot of tension on it to move it out of the way. You know how a lot of knives it like hurts your thumb to disengage, but not on this knife. That's one of the big things I love about it too. It's just as easy as a Hinderer frame lock to disengage, which I love that. I'm also actually shooting this video with a tripod. I finally got a tripod, believe it or not, and a new phone. And the phone is supposed to be shooting this in 4K. So if y'all like the way it looks, let me know. I think it looks pretty good. Just sitting at my kitchen table. Let's see, what else was I gonna talk about here? Got the thick pillars in the back. I did some, see, I've only had this for a couple days, but I was cutting open some sandbags today, and the knife came pretty sharp. But after I cut those sandbags open today, it got dull kind of quick, actually. But those sandbags were like heavy duty. I don't think they were like regular sandbags. It's almost like plastic. And I think after I was cutting up on them, I guess that kind of messed up the edge a little bit. But I ran it through a few passes on the sharp maker, and then I stropped it, and I think I got it back to pretty sharp. I did bring I don't know if it'll actually cut this or not, phone book paper, but I'm gonna give it a try. Yeah, I mean, it was sharper than this when I got it out of the box. Let's see, hard to do this on camera. Well, cut it. So yeah, it's pretty sharp. Well, didn't get it that time. Let's see. Probably could be a little sharper, but that's fine for me. That's what I love about the sharp maker is that it doesn't take, I mean, that took like 5 minutes, just a few passes on the white stone and put it on the strap a little bit and it's good to go from being dull. So yeah, this is it's a big knife, but if you like big knives, I think you would like it. Definitely feels like a tank for sure. Like if I had to pick one knife that was gonna have to stand up to a ton of abuse, and I knew I was gonna be doing some serious hard work, like this would definitely be my #1 choice. Let me do some size comparisons real quick. I brought a couple knives out. This is what I'm normally carrying, my small Sebenza. I always like to show some size comparisons. And it's crazy because, I'm normally carrying a knife about this size, and this is kind of a big jump up, but the knife is so cool, I would love it. So yeah, that's it next to a small Sebenza. Look at the thickness difference in it. So, and I will do a review on this eventually. I just want to make sure I do a good review on it. That's why I hadn't done it yet. Let's see. And I brought a small knife, a little dragonfly. That's a major size difference there. And the probably one of the other bigger knives I have in the collection right now is the Spider Coast Salt. Cool story behind this knife. I'll have to do a video on it one day, but that one's actually pretty close in length compared to it. So, except this weight is like 1 ounce probably. I don't know what the weight is, but it's just like there's no liners in this. It's just super light. So anyway, I just wanted to get this up on the channel. See, it's got some jimping right there on the underside of the handle. I really love this knife. I'd say if you can find one at a reasonable price, you would like it. Now, what generation should you get? I have no clue. The 1 is probably more rare and valuable. The 3, oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The 3, Gen 3 has a lock bar insert, stainless steel insert. They have a screw right there. That's how you can tell the 2 and the 3 apart, is if they have that insert right there. So, I mean, if that's something that you are into, you might want the Gen 3 instead. It is the newest one of all of them. I'm not too worried about that as much. I mean, you can see the lockup right there. I don't know, 40% or so. And I think that the lock bar is carbidized. I think that's what they call it. So I'm not too worried about whether it had a lock bar insert with it or not. But I don't know if all the Gen 2s are this easy to open or not, or if this is the only Gen 2 I've had. So, but this one is definitely easy. It ain't gonna tear your thumb up for sure. So, and I'll put a link, like I said, to that guy with the scale. And I think that's about it. So, all right, well, thanks for watching. Y'all have a good one.